It is a special honor and pleasure to be able to introduce our keynote speaker today. And we can't call him a guest speaker as he is really quite at home here, both at the Hilton and with our WRC ranks. It's always fun to look up and see him smiling in the back. Since his election to Congress in 2020, Byron has represented the 19th District of Florida. He sits on the House Committees on Oversight and Government Reform, Budget, Small Business, and the Select Committee on the Economy. At our luncheon last month, Byron announced his official campaign for GOP House Conference Chair, the number 3 ranked position in House leadership. Since last month's luncheon, our region has been devastated by a once-in-a-lifetime hurricane. One bright light has been the ongoing public-facing presence of our elected Florida Republican leaders, our great governor, senators, and of course, Congressman Byron Donalds. He's been working tirelessly to bring federal and local attention and aid to the devastated communities he represents and bringing hope to so many businesses and individuals. He is the voice to our nation and the world about the realities on the ground here that are hard even for us to imagine. We want to thank him sincerely on behalf of all of those so deeply affected by the hurricane for his energy, his heart of service, and his continuing reassurance that we will indeed rebuild this beautiful region we call home into an even stronger Florida. Please welcome Congressman Byron Donalds.
If you kind of know me, you know I don't mind moving furniture around sometimes. So first and foremost, guys, thanks so much for, man, there's a lot of you here. Thanks really for coming out here and really continuing to be supportive of this club and all of the clubs here in Southwest Florida. As long as I've been around politically, I mean, going as far back as, man, Tea Party rallies back in 2010. Going back to the Tea Party days, oh yeah. You know, it's been our club network that has been so supportive of Republican politics and making sure that candidates in this room, people who've already been elected, people who have been elected and now have decided to leave the process. You guys have been the backbone of all of that. And so I really appreciate seeing you here. Thank you for your continued service, support, and passion. I think that's the thing that gets lost a lot in politics is we have people who are just passionate. They're passionate about this process. They're passionate about whatever their idea is, the thing they want to see be accomplished. And first thing I'll tell you is never lose sight of that. Passion is the thing that kind of got me, I guess, off the couch 12, 13, 14 years ago. I'll tell you a quick story. It's more origin, and I'm gonna come back to the storm. But it was back in 2007, 2008, when I was just a kid working in an insurance firm, married with, we had 2 kids at the time? 2 kids at the time. Sorry, the middle one's 15 now, he's my height. So that's the first time I admitted that he's not tall, he is? He might be taller than me now. And so, you know, I was just a kid. I was 29, 30 at the time. And I became passionate about the fact that the federal government had no business bailing out companies and industries to try to bring our economy back. If you ever notice anything about the American economy throughout the history of time, the one thing the American economy thrives on is the ingenuity, the desire, the grit, the toughness of small business owners throughout our land, and then larger corporations who come in through our financial system to make it all go. That's what makes our economy work. And so I remember I was doing a report for my company. I turned on C-SPAN. I never watched a congressional hearing. I never watched anything with politics. My wife, Erica, you guys listened to her earlier. By the way, thank you. She was like, wait, what? You're watching the news? Like, I would never do that. That was me. So I was watching it for the first time. I watched C-SPAN for the first time. And the question I had was the question all of you typically have are, who are these people? What are they talking about? They don't know what they're talking about. And it pissed me off. And so that was my initial passion project. My initial passion project was just sound regulation and sound budgets. Still is my passion project. It really hasn't left, but that was the thing that got me off the couch, if you will. That's the thing that got me interested in going to a Tea Party rally. That's the thing that when I gave a speech in my Toastmasters club 14 years ago now, 14 years ago, there was a gentleman named Barry Willoughby. For some of you in this room, you know who Barry Willoughby is. Barry Willoughby was the head of the Naples Tea Party. For a lot of people who've come to the area since then, a large portion of the conservative movement, the active conservative movement you see here in Collier County today, the forefather was Barry Willoughby. And so I remember I had this speech, and I was a Toastmaster at the time, and it was like a 20-minute speech, and I was talking just about America and the founding of our republic and why that was critical to the future of our country. And I watched the speech, and I was just like, man, that was actually a pretty good speech. And in the Naples Daily News, they had the October Tea Party rally that was called Remember in November. And they had Barry Willoughby's contact information in the article. And so I emailed him the speech. And I just put in the email, hey, my name is Byron. You don't know me. I gave this speech. If you ever need speakers, let me know. And he called me back like 2 hours later, and he goes, I got a bunch of speakers, but I'll give you 5 minutes. And so if you still go on YouTube today, the very first speech I ever gave in public was in the back of a flatbed pickup truck right across the street, actually catty corner. It was in front of the Allison Craig Furniture. And the Tea Party rallies used to be in that green grass right on the corner of Pine Ridge and 41. And you see this guy with 2 little kids and a wife trying to pull them back from the pickup truck, get into the back of a flatbed trailer, and that's kind of how it all began. You remember, right? So the point of that story is this. Here in our area in Southwest Florida, we have a lot of people who are passionate about politics. I always tell my colleagues that Southwest Florida is really a meritocracy. You got people here who've come from just about every part of the country. They've been successful in all walks of life. We're now developing the foundation of people who have come here early, like myself and my wife, Erica, to raise kids here and build a life here, because it is by far the very best place to live in all these United States. I'm telling you. I travel a lot. This is the best place in the country. You know, it's awesome here. And so you have a network of people who their only number one thing that they really care about is, are you committed to getting the job done? And do you have a sense of principles about you that I can trust in? And that's really kind of the bedrock of Southwest Florida. In Cape Coral is one of the largest pockets of veterans who have served this country with honor and distinction and have chosen Southwest Florida to be their home. One of the largest pockets in the country is right here. It's here in Southwest Florida. It's in Cape Coral. We know about downtown Naples. It's great. Massive wealth. It's awesome. But why do people choose to come here? They've come here because this is the place where you can have the quality of life. You can actually have your political beliefs. You can worship how you want to worship. You can largely live your life. You can have $30 million and just wear Birkenstocks and shorts and nobody cares. You're just doing your thing. And what we choose in elected officials are people who are going to be committed. Our area is by far the number one bastion of conservatism, definitely in Florida, but in these United States. It's right here in Southwest Florida. So, the journey, not just of mine, but so many elected officials who have served our community with honor and distinction has been because of you. It's been because of what you have done throughout the years. Some of y'all don't even know it. Sometimes it's just coming to a luncheon. Sometimes it's picking up a phone list. Sometimes it's telling your friend, I saw this person at a luncheon, I liked them. But whatever it is, keep doing it, because the thing that is going to continue to make our area the beacon of conservatism going forward is that continued passion. So I tell you, don't lose it, because I'm pretty passionate. I don't know if y'all know this about me. I'm really competitive. Like, I'm super competitive. And so, look, there's times I'm going to say something, you may not agree. But I want you to understand, and I said that when I ran for office, when I ran for Congress the second time, most people don't know I ran for the Congress the first time. I lost. It was actually a great experience. Some of y'all were on, some of y'all were on that journey with me back in 2012. You have the retro buttons, the old ones. I see them every now and again. I'm like, oh, those are retro. We're going to re-release those. It's fun stuff. But when I ran the first time, even when I ran the second time, the thing I always told you is what you elect is a decision-making process. That's what you elect. TV ads are great. Everybody has them. Mail pieces are cool. Everybody has them. But what you elect is a decision-making process. So I'll tell you mine. How you think? I see you. She has the 2012 button. I'm telling you right now, she's got it. So here's the deal. It's real simple. Number one, I'm going to follow the Constitution. That's it. Period. The formulation of American success has been built upon three key pillars. Number one is economic liberty. Number two is religious liberty. And number three is political liberty. You must have all three working in concert in order for this thing to create itself. There are no experts. There are no leaders that come down from heaven, except one, who will create the very nature we see around us, where people can have businesses, they can choose to make money how they see fit, as long as they don't harm another. Where you have a network where, obviously in today's topic, you're educating kids to have them take on the next wave of leadership in our United States, where you actually are free to speak your mind. And it's a good thing. And you can have crisp debates, sometimes rough debates, but still be Americans, still be people. It's only possible because of our Constitution. And so the first thing is you got to follow that. The second thing is, for me, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I'm gonna let y'all take that home with you. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. When in government, when I was in the state legislature and now in the federal government, if I'm gonna propose a program, it's gotta make sense today, but it's gotta make sense in 10 years. And it's gotta make sense in 20 years. And if one of those things don't work, it doesn't make sense. Because who's gonna bear the responsibility might be us, but it could be our kids. And for a lot of y'all in this room, it'll be your grandkids. So when you have the mantle of government in your hands, because people have entrusted you to do it, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. That's number two. Number three, man, just be logical. I try to look at everything pretty logically. That's my mom. That is not me. And it's also Erica. It's like the two. My mom would always tell me, Byron, don't listen to people. Always think it through if it's logical. Don't follow what everybody says. Is it logical? And she beat it into my head nonstop. So that's just who I am. So I just take a look at it. Is this logical? Is that right? And if it's not, then typically I'm no. But what you elect is a decision-making process. So when all the campaigning is over, that's what's left in front of you. Because the issues always change. There's always some new issue. Right now, we're dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. Who here 3 months ago thought we would be dealing with a Hurricane Ian? Nobody. The issues always change. The decision-making process remains. So let's talk about Hurricane Ian. We have by far, and I call him America's governor. I think I was the first to call him that on Fox sometime. And so I'm mad because I didn't, copyright it. I should have. Actually, I got to check house ethics. They may not let me copyright stuff. So I don't know. Maybe it was fortuitous that I didn't do that. But he's been America's governor. He has been fantastic. He has been. And listen, it's not owning the libs. It's not going after media. which is fun, by the way. It is fun. It's fun. But it's being decisive. What is the decision that has to be made? Do we have the resources to make it? Is there some random checklist in some bureaucratic office that typically gets signed off on, which right now is completely irrelevant to the lives of the people of Southwest Florida or Orlando or Duval County, St. Johns County, because they got flooded too? Our governor has said, I don't care about somebody's checklist in some weird office in Tallahassee. We're going to get it done to make sure that people's lives can get back on track. That's leadership. I tell people all the time, look, I said it this morning, actually. We got a lot of elected officials. We don't have a lot of leaders. Just saying. Just saying. Look, I work with like 535 of them. I'm telling you. We got a lot of elected officials. We don't have a lot of leaders. Ron DeSantis is a leader. And before this, it was how he managed COVID-19. Because he didn't look at what people wanted to pontificate about on CNN and so on and so forth. He looked at the data. And no, this is no disrespect to the other Republican governors in Florida, but I know who went first. I remember, to my friends in Texas, my colleagues in Texas, I'm like, man, your governor's doing a good job. And some of them will be like, he's not as good as your governor. And I'm like, well, there can only be one. It's like Highlander, for y'all who remember Highlander. There can only be one. But recovery in Southwest Florida is going to take some time. We've done a lot of important things. The Sanibel Causeway is now open for emergency access. The initial conversations about rebuilding the Sanibel Causeway were 18 months. 18 months. We have emergency access in 2.5 weeks. 2.5. The Matt Lachey Bridge, they said, would take 4 months. It was built in 3 days. Now, mind you, it's not a swanky bridge. It's not the, it's not the overpass going over Airport Road we got over there. We got all the, the palm trees and the lighting. We got work to do there. But to have something functional to access those barrier islands are critical. And I was only because, and let me tell you a quick story about Matt Lachey. So we have a state representative in our area named Mike G. Lombardo. Many of y'all probably don't know Mike G. Mike G is out in Cape Coral, right? Mike G has a lot of family friends on Pine Island. So they called the first person they know, which is Mike G. And they're telling Mike G, Mike, we're going to do this. We got to build a bridge. We can't wait. We got to do it. Mike G calls me. He's like, Byron, can we talk? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He goes, man, they're going to build this bridge. I said, they're going to build what bridge? He goes, they're marine contractors. They're going to build that bridge. So I remember the governor came in. We were at one of the first pods that were opened up in Fort Myers to dispense water, ice, and food. So Mike G made a beeline for the governor. He goes, Governor, he beat me to him. He goes, Governor, I got to tell you, this is what's happening. He tells him the story. I'm watching him tell it. Okay. And so he calls me later. He's like, we got to get this thing done. They're going to build it without him. It's going to be a problem. I said, all right, Mike, let me see what's going on. I said, have the guy call me. The guy calls me, tells me the same thing he told Mike. I'm like, okay, I got the message. I got the assignment. Let me make some calls. I'm going to call you back. I call the governor's team. I said, hey, we got a problem. I said, it's not really a problem. We got a solution, but it could be a problem for you. And they were like, well, what do you mean? I said, here's the situation. We already know about it. We're trying to work it out. I said, well, you need to work faster because I'm telling you, this thing is going to be built with or without you. Here's the key sign in leadership, because I've seen leaders come and go. Some leaders would take offense to just somebody saying, I'm going to do it with or without you. Some leaders take offense to that. Our leader said, well, yeah, that's right. Let's just go get it done. And so the word came out next day. The next day I was on a John boat heading to Pine Island. John boat's a little thing, I've learned so much in this disaster. John boat's little thing, maybe 12 feet long. I'm sitting on it. Jesse's on there with me. Mike G's with me. And now this is like continuity of governance stuff. I'm a member of Congress. Mike G's a state representative. The Coast Guard is in their little boat dinghy driving past us. They look at me. I'm like, hey, fellas. They like, how you doing? And I'm like, well, maybe I should have told somebody I was getting on a John boat and heading out. But you just do what you got to do. Before I get on the boat, I get a call from Lee County and they go, hey, that bridge is approved. We're going to build it. How long? 5 days. Okay. So when we land in Pine Island, I'm like, hey guys, they're going to build that bridge. And the guys out there were like, thank you. Now, I was a piece of that. The real leader in that is Mike Gianlombardo. Why? Because he didn't wait. He acted decisively on behalf of people that he knew who needed something. And so all through Southwest Florida, all we're doing is acting decisively on behalf of people who need something. Some of y'all have wanted to volunteer and do stuff to help. There's a community in Fort Myers called Harlem Heights. Harlem Heights is low-income community. It sits lower than most areas. It's not Fort Myers Beach. It's not Bonita Beach. It's not Sanibel. It's low income. It sits low. The water rushed in and flooded these people out. There's an NGO on the ground there right now. And so we've been getting resources to them like blower fans, air mattresses, water, cots, bleach, mops, buckets, towels, socks, pillows, simple stuff. We've been getting it into this community now, Jesse, 4 days we've been doing this? 5 days? Because they really don't have anything. There's an NGO on the ground that says, if you could just bring us volunteers, if they show up 9 a.m. every morning, we will train them how to go in and diagnose homes. To go help people. Yvette and I were in 2 trailer parks here over off Bayshore Road. Why? Water came in off the Gordon River and one of the creeks that's right there came up in the bottom of the trailer park. The trailer park floors are typically this old compressed plywood from the 70s. So that storm surge met with those floors and they disintegrated. We have seniors on fixed income, young families, migrant families. They're living in these trailers. They're still living in them now. The storm was 2 weeks ago, but they have nowhere else to go. So Southwest Florida, we have a real opportunity. We are a blessed community. We have a lot of people who donate a lot of time. They donate a lot of resources in Southwest Florida. It's really a blessing. But there's a time right now to donate time. I shouldn't have said it that way, but it doesn't really matter. If you got time, call us. We can put you to work because there are people who truly need help. Last thing I'm gonna talk about is just Republicanism. I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative who registered as a Republican. I'm a political convert. I was apolitical like most people in America. And what brought me to conservatism was value of budgets and value of the Constitution. That's what brought me to conservatism. But everybody comes for very different reasons. There are a lot of people in Southwest Florida right now who are independents or even Democrats, and they're just looking for a reason. They're looking for a reason to not vote Democrat anymore. This is the time, right now, just a little bit of time. This is the time to help see them the value of conservatism and of Republicans. A little bit goes a long way. And so I think that the mission has always been, from my vantage point, to take the values of conservatism everywhere. But in times like these, it's time to take the heart of conservatism everywhere as well. And so that's why we're out every day. That's why I'm still dressed like this, because we're basically out every day helping people, finding out what's going on, getting into communities, getting them resources, listening to what's going on in their life. And if we do that stuff in rooms like this and we go to these communities and do the same thing, then that gives us the window to start talking about the politics. You can't talk about politics with somebody unless they can know what your heart's about, because they ain't gonna listen to you. Trust me, I've had the conversations. They ain't listening. They gotta know what's going on here first. And once they know what's going on in here, then they'll be more ready to talk to you about Ron DeSantis versus Charlie Crist. Oh Lord, Charlie Crist. Good news, we're gonna go ahead and dispatch Charlie Crist here in about 26 days. So that's the good news. We'll be done with him. On a national level, we are going to take back the House. We are gonna do that. The polling has looked really, really wonderful. We're gonna do that. In the Senate, I hold by my predictions that we're going to take Georgia, we're going to take Nevada, we're going to take Arizona, and we're going to take Pennsylvania. Let me give you a green shoot about Pennsylvania. Poll popped up today. We were sitting in the house right before we got out on the road this morning. Poll popped up today. John Fetterman's percentage of the vote with non-white voters was 52%. Mehmet Oz was 24%. Oh, no, don't say, I looked at that poll and I was like, yes. Let me explain why. John Fetterman, who the Democrats have protected, have shielded. They won't let him debate. He's not allowed to ask questions. I've been told by people on the ground in Pennsylvania on the other side of the aisle, the only thing that campaign is doing is going to rooms that are very, very small. He talks for 2 minutes. He takes no questions, and then he waves and he leaves. I mean, come on, y'all. Even Biden talks longer than 2 minutes these days. He probably should only talk for 2 minutes, but he talks longer than 2 minutes. Come on now. Come on. But there's the good news. In normal politics in the modern era, a Democrat candidate typically has anywhere from 65 to 70% of the quote unquote non-white vote. John Fetterman's only at 52. In the modern era of politics, a Republican typically has only about 15 to 18% of the quote unquote non-white vote. Mehmet Oz is at 24. And last time I checked, and I know we got school board candidates all in the room, but 52 plus 24 is not 100. Maybe I gotta go back and do my own math. No, it ain't 100. So we have a real potential in Pennsylvania. Mehmet Oz is on the case, and he's ready to go, and they're working really, really hard. Adam Laxalt in Nevada, that race is tied. In Nevada. Let me explain to you about what happened in Nevada. COVID-19 shut down Las Vegas. The people of Las Vegas are furious with their governor. Furious. Some of them had to leave Las Vegas and go other places to try to make a living. Las Vegas is a working town. It's glitz and glamour to all of you, but Vegas is a working town for the people that live there. It crippled them. They've not forgotten. Let's talk about Arizona. The current senator in Arizona, a man named Mike Kelly or Mark Kelly, doesn't really matter what his name is because nobody can pick him out of a lineup. How are you a United States senator and nobody can pick you out of a lineup? That's a problem for me. But he has voted with this agenda, this radical agenda, 100% of the time. 100%. Arizona, I don't know if y'all know this, it gets really, really hot. So, something like electricity bills matter in Arizona. This man has voted to increase electricity bills 100% of the time. People in Arizona haven't forgotten that. And now let me end up with Georgia. I was in Georgia with Herschel Walker. 3 weeks ago. I was with Herschel 3 weeks ago, and I opened up for Herschel Walker. And it was actually all by accident because I was in Georgia for other reasons. And then I went to a small business meeting that Herschel was at, and I ran into Burgess Owens. And Burgess gets off the bus in front of Herschel. He goes, "Byron, I didn't know you were here." And I said, "Burgess, I didn't know you were here." So we're talking, and they're like, "Well, come with us. We're going to do another event." I said, "Cool." So we're on the bus, and we're talking, and they're like, "Herschel, how do you want this to go?" The team asked Herschel. Herschel was like, "Well, no, have Byron open up for me, and Burgess will open up, and he'll pass it to Byron, and Byron will pass it to Herschel." I said, "Cool." So I opened up for Herschel, and I was like, "Man, that was good opening. That's great." Herschel Walker, man, I had never seen him like this. He is in prime form now. It was awesome. I'm sitting back there. Burgess is like, "Man, what do you think about this?" I was like, "Man, this is good. Whatever this is, this." It was great. Now let me talk real quick about what they're doing with Herschel right now. Folks, let's just talk very, very plain with each other. Ain't none of us pure as the wind-driven snow. None of us. None of us. We all got issues. We all got things that have gone on. All of us. There's some of y'all in this room who are like, I'm really passionate about politics. I want to run, but there was this thing that happened before and I'll never do it. It's okay, because we're human beings. We all have frailties. We all have fallen short. The thing I don't like about electoral politics is that it seems that when Republicans have fallen short at some point in time in their lives, it only comes out in October before a November election. It only comes out in October. Nobody ever talks about it any other time. In December, they're going to be talking about, oh, man, remember when Herschel was running and Georgia won that other national title? He was great. But in October, before an election, it's the worst thing ever. I'm going to be completely blunt about this. I don't know what went on. It's not my business to know what went on. That's in his life with his family. I don't know. But here's what I do know, is that the U.S. Senator from the state of Georgia votes on things like raising taxes on oil and gas in the United States. Now, that is my problem. That does affect my life. The senator from the state of Georgia does vote on whether or not we're going to have money on open border policy. Guess what? That is my problem. That does affect my life. The senator from the state of Georgia votes on the NDAA and continuing resolutions to whether or not we're going to have wokeism in our military. That is my problem. That does affect my life. And you know what's happened in Georgia since all this came out? Herschel Walker's ahead in the latest polls that are in Georgia. Republicanism, we're actually in really good shape, but we have one job to do. And that's not to get cocky and think that we got it in the bag just because Joe Biden is terrible at his job. It's not to get cocky because the Democrats are committed to a radical agenda that is just craziness and is not working on behalf of the American people. Our job remains the same. We have to be committed to policy. We have to be committed to the Constitution, and we have to take that message to all voters in all ways. If we do that, man, not only will republicanism be just fine, but the United States of America will not just be fine, it will be roaring again to lead the world for another 100 years. The Chinese have a plan, and that is to be the dominant military and economic power. And they have been consistently focused on that plan. It is time for the American people to put away the foolishness and the side politics and the pettiness and be focused on the plan of making sure America remains the dominant power in the world for another 100 years. Because an America that is dominant militarily and dominant economically becomes a bastion of freedom that other countries want for themselves. It is the thing that drives the world to be towards good and not despotism. We've seen a world where America was not one. And that world was a world that led to the persecution and the destruction and in some respects the flat out genocide of so many people across the globe. And so when the left likes to talk about they want to take us back, oh no. I want America to be back to being number one in the game, because America that is number one in the game is an America that allows all people to be free, all people to rise, all people to have the best shot at the best life ever. And that is only possible in a United States where United States of America is number one in the world. Last thing I'm going to say, I wanted to make sure I didn't forget this. I want to thank my wife. I think, look, everybody that's running, people have been elected, y'all know how this is. It's tough on your families. It's hard. You're gone, you're doing stuff. Everybody's got needs. She always tells me sometimes like, the shoemaker's kids have no shoes. But I do want to thank you. Stop. This lady, my wife, she's been with me since I was nobody. I was just not even a random kid in a job. I was a kid with no job. That's how long she's been with me. But I just want to say thank you, because when you do this storm stuff, you're gone. You don't see your kids. You don't see your wife. You're running through the district nonstop. You come home, you talk about 10 different things while you're eating food, and then you pass out on the couch. And then you wake up the next morning, you threw on new clothes, and you go and do it again. So I just want to say thank you. I love you. Thank you for just letting me do this stuff, which is crazy. And I wanted to make sure I did that before I left the stage, because I would be in trouble if I did. No, I'm just playing. I'm playing. Ladies, thanks for sticking around. I know I kind of went off in a bunch of different areas, but man, listen, I represent, even in its current state, the very best district in all of these United States. And it is because of you. So thank you so much. God bless you all. God bless America, everybody.
Aren't we blessed with Byron Donalds as our congressman?